The government building loomed in front of me, and I glanced at my watch for the third time in as many minutes. 9 o'clock. 5 minutes to go. In one hand, I gripped a small bunch of white roses, and in the other, a folder stuffed with our paperwork. The engagement ring sat tucked inside my jacket, close to my chest. I couldn't stop the grin that crept across my face. This is really happening, I murmured to myself. I'd rehearsed this scene in my head for months. Emily Parker would come strolling through those glass doors, roll her eyes at me for showing up so ridiculously early, and then the two of us would sign our names side by side. That signature would open the door to everything we'd planned. Then my phone lit up. Emily's name. I picked up before the second ring. "Hey, where are you?" A long sigh came through the line. "I'm really sorry." I kept my voice light. "You're almost here, though, right?" "No. Nathan just asked me to stay at the office." My eyes fell shut. "Emily, it's today. I know. Please don't be upset with me. This is our marriage registration." "I know, but my boss genuinely needs me right now." "You promised me." "I did, but I can't let Nathan down." Her words landed heavier than I was ready for. "And letting me down is fine." "Nothing. Just silence stretching between us." At last she asked in a small voice, "Can we push it to another day?" I looked at the roses. I looked at the doorway, where couple after couple walked in together, some laughing, some with fingers laced tight. And there I stood by myself. "Sure," I said softly. "We can reschedule." "Thank you. You really are the sweetest." The line went dead. I lingered another 10 minutes before I finally turned and walked off. I told myself that real love takes patience. I told myself that ambitious people carry heavy workloads. I told myself next time will be different. 2 weeks later, I'd fully talked myself back into the lie. I arrived even earlier this time. Same building, same flowers, same ring, same foolish hope. 9 o'clock slipped past, then 9:15, then 9:30. I called Emily. No answer. I called again. Silence. A third try went straight to voicemail. I texted, "Are you okay?" Nothing. Another. "I'm waiting." Still nothing. People streamed past me into the building. A few employees offered me those soft, pitying smiles. One older woman slowed as she passed. "Did someone stand you up, dear?" I forced a laugh. "She's just running late." The woman nodded warmly. "I hope she makes it." "So do I." 1 hour crawled by, then a second. Eventually the office shut down for lunch. I sank onto a bench outside, the flowers resting beside me, my phone stubbornly quiet. It wasn't until late that evening that it finally rang. "Emily," I answered instantly. "Where were you?" "Oh." She sounded worn out. "My phone died." "Your phone was dead for 10 hours? I've been slammed. I sat outside that office all day long." "I'm sorry." "You forgot." "I didn't forget." "Then what happened?" "Nathan needed the whole team for something important." I frowned. "Something important?" "A celebration. For his promotion." "You picked a party over marrying me." "It wasn't like that." "It sounded exactly like that." "You don't get it." "No, Emily." My voice trembled. "I think I finally do." She said nothing. "I'll call you tomorrow," she whispered, and hung up before I could get another word out. I couldn't seem to breathe. My feet carried me forward with no destination in mind. 30 minutes later, I found myself standing in front of one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. Light poured out of the windows, and music floated down onto the pavement. I glanced inside without meaning to, and then the whole world stopped. There was Emily, right in the middle of the room. She was wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for our registration day. Nathan Reed stood next to her, lifting his glass while the room erupted in cheers. Emily was laughing. Not the strained laugh, not the tired laugh. A genuine, delighted laugh. She looked more radiant celebrating his promotion than she'd ever looked mapping out our life together. Nathan slid an arm around her shoulders, and she didn't pull away. She just beamed even brighter. I stayed pressed outside that window, unseen, and remembered how I'd sat alone with a bouquet while she toasted another man's triumph. The roses slid from my grip and scattered across the sidewalk. Not a single person noticed. I was never her first. I whispered. My chest ached, and not just because she'd missed another appointment. It was the sudden, brutal clarity that this was the whole shape of us. When Nathan needed her, she came running. When her coworkers invited her out, she went. The one time I needed her, she'd only apologized. The imbalance had always been right there in front of me. I'd simply chosen not to look. My phone buzzed. My little sister, Mia Carter. "Hey," she said gently. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. You've never been a good liar." I let out a bitter laugh. She did it again. Mia went quiet for a beat. "Where are you?" "Outside a restaurant." "Alone?" "Yeah." "Come home." "I don't want to." "Please." An hour later, I was sitting in Mia's apartment, cradling the coffee she'd pressed into my hands. "You look awful," she said. "I feel worse." She leaned toward me. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "If this exact story happened to me instead of you, what would you tell me to do?" I stared down at the floor. "I tell you to walk away." "So why won't you?" "Because I love her." Mia shook her head. "No, you don't." "What?" "You love the future you built up in your imagination." The words stung because they were true. "You deserve someone who puts you first." I kept thinking she'd change. Has she? I had no answer. A knock cut through the room. Logan Brooks came in balancing a bag of takeout. He took one look at me and exhaled. "I heard. Mia called you." "Yeah." He dropped in the chair across from me. "I'm sorry, man. You saw this coming, didn't you?" He hesitated. "I warned you years ago." "I remember. You stopped speaking to me for 2 months. I figured you hated Emily." "I never hated her." He looked straight at me. "I hated watching you turn into somebody's backup plan." I rubbed my face. "Why didn't you push harder?" "Because you were in love, and you wouldn't have heard a word of it." He was right. I never would have. The room fell silent. Finally, I reached into my pocket and drew out the ring. It caught the kitchen light and threw off tiny sparks. I studied it for a long moment. Then I snapped the box shut. "I'm done," I whispered. Mia squeezed my hand. Logan gave a slow nod. I pulled in one deep breath. Tomorrow, I would erase myself from Emily's world. No explanation this time. No argument. No third chance. Only silence. The morning after I made my decision, I woke up hollow. For a few seconds, my hand drifted toward my phone. I nearly called her. Instead, I switched it off completely. "No more," I said out loud. Those 2 words became a vow. Packing up my apartment felt surreal. Every shirt dredged up a canceled date. Every photo carried another excuse. I picked up the engagement ring one final time. "I hoped you'd become my wife," I said quietly. "Now you're just a lesson I had to learn." I set the ring inside a small box and left a note beside it. Just one line. I finally chose myself. Nothing more. No blame. No anger. No would-be. I locked the door behind me and handed the keys to the landlord. "Moving out?" he asked. "Yes. Somewhere far. Far enough." He gave me a kind smile. "I hope you find whatever you're after." I think I'm just starting to. While I waited at the airport, I dug up an old email. Months earlier, a recruiter named Olivia Bennett had reached out to me. I'd ignored her back then because Emily had wanted me to stay close to home. Now, I read it over again. "Asterisk, we've been impressed by your engineering work. We'd love to offer you a position overseas, if you're still open to it." Asterisk, for the first time in weeks, I smiled. I fired off a reply. "I'm interested." Her response came before my plane even landed. Asterisk, we were hoping you'd say that. Asterisk, a week later, I stepped off into a brand new country with 2 suitcases and a shaky smile. Everything felt foreign. The streets, the language, even the weather. I stood outside the company building and let out a quiet laugh. "Guess we start over." Inside, a tall man with silver hair came walking toward me. "You must be our new engineer." "I am." He held out his hand. "Daniel Foster. Good to meet you." He studied my face for a moment. "You look like a man carrying too much weight." I laughed awkwardly. "Is it that obvious?" "Usually is." He gestured toward his office. "Coffee first. Work can wait." A few minutes later, he slid a mug across the desk to me. "So," he said, "what brought you all the way out here?" "A fresh start. Career. Life." He nodded without prying. Sometimes those turn out to be the same thing. Over the next hour, he introduced me to the team. Every single one of them welcomed me openly. Nobody cared where I come from. Nobody asked about Emily. It was startlingly peaceful. At lunch, Daniel took the seat across from me. You work hard, he said. Always have. Though I spent years trying to prove I was worth something to one person. He stirred his coffee. Did it work? No, it never does. I looked at him. What do you mean? You can't talk people into valuing you. He smiled gently. They either do or they don't. The words lodged themselves in my mind. Before he headed back to work, he added one more thing. Real success starts the moment you quit chasing people who don't appreciate you. I turned that sentence over in my head all afternoon. A few days later, someone rapped on my office door. Excuse me. I looked up. A bright-eyed woman was smiling at me. I'm Sofa Collins. The project designer? That's me. She spread several drawings across my desk. I think your calculations are brilliant. I blinked. Really? Absolutely. Nobody's ever called my work brilliant before. She laughed. Then nobody was paying attention. I couldn't hold back a smile. She tapped one of the sketches. I've got an idea. I'm listening. What if we merge your system with this layout? I examined her design. It actually cracked the biggest problem we've been stuck on. I was hoping you'd say that. We spent the next 2 hours trading ideas. No rivalry, no posturing, just honest collaboration. When we wrapped up, she stood. You know, she said, you're way easier to work with than everyone made it sound. I laughed. People warned you about me. They said you were quiet. I am, but you're also kind. Nobody had called me kind in a very long time. Thank you. She shrugged, just telling it like it is. The walk home that night felt different. For once, I wasn't lying awake wondering whether anyone actually cared about me. These people just showed it. Weeks folded into months. My project came together. Daniel started handing me bigger responsibilities. Sophia became one of my closest friends. I began waking up excited instead of anxious. One evening my phone rang. Logan. Hey, you sound happier. I think I am. Good. How's home? He sighed. Interesting. What happened? Emily finally went by your old apartment. I stayed quiet. The landlord told her you'd moved. And she found a ring. My eyes closed. I left it there. She cried. Kept asking where you'd gone. What did everyone tell her? The truth. Which is, nobody knows. I gave a faint smile. I suppose they don't. Logan went on. She's been calling me every day. What do you tell her? That you deserve some peace. How does she take that? She begs me to help her. I stared out the window. I'm not angry anymore. I know. I just have no interest in going back. You shouldn't. A few weeks after that, Logan called again. I heard something else. What? Nathan isn't who Emily thought he was. I frowned. What do you mean? He got his promotion, and now he barely gives her the time of day. I said nothing. Most nights he's out with clients. She trusted him. She chose him over all of us. I know. He dropped his voice. People at her office are whispering. About what? They've noticed Nathan getting cozy with another employee. I thought back to that restaurant window. The laughter, the celebration, the endless excuses. Now the same pattern was playing out all over again. Does Emily know? Not yet, but she will. Another month slipped by. Daniel called me into his office. You've blown past every expectation. Thank you. I want you to lead our next international project. I gaped at him. Me? You earned it. I don't know what to say. He smiled with real pride. Say yes. I laughed. Yes. He rose and shook my hand. I knew you'd rebuild yourself. I wasn't sure I could. You are now. That evening, Sophia caught me grinning at my desk. Good news. I got promoted. She clapped, delighted. I knew it. You believed in me before I believed in myself. She smiled. That's what real teammates are for. As I walked home under the glow of the city lights, I understood something had shifted inside me. I no longer sat waiting for Emily to call. I no longer scripted impossible conversations in my head. The man who'd once stood outside a government office with a bouquet had vanished. Someone stronger had taken his place. Walking away had broken my heart, but rebuilding myself had become the greatest victory of my life. The months moved faster than I expected. One morning, I caught my reflection in the office window and smiled. I looked different, not because of nicer clothes or a fatter paycheck. I stood taller. I slept soundly. I'd stopped apologizing for taking up space in the world. Daniel noticed the smile. Good morning. Morning. You finally believe in yourself. I think I do. He nodded proudly. I've been waiting to hear you say that. I laughed. Took me long enough. It usually does. The day rolled along normally until the receptionist buzzed me. Someone's here asking for you. Ooh. She says her name is Emily Parker. My smile evaporated. For a second, I couldn't pull in air. Are you still there? The receptionist asked. Yes. Should I send her away? I shut my eyes. No. A minute later, I walked into the lobby. Emily stood near the entrance, and she looked nothing like the woman I remembered. Her eyes were puffy and swollen, her shoulders slumped, and she clutched a worn handbag with trembling fingers. The moment she saw me, tears flooded her eyes. There you are. I stayed where I was. Eddie. She took a step closer. I finally found you. It took months. You never got an answer to your question. She dropped her head. I asked around. Who? Anyone who might have known. And they told you? Eventually. I sighed. You shouldn't have come. I had to. No. I looked her dead in the eye. You wanted to. She nodded slowly. I deserve that. Neither of us said anything for a while. Finally, she whispered, You look happy. I am. I've never seen you like this. That's because I stopped waiting. She brushed away another tear. I came to apologize. I figured. I'm sorry. I know. No. She shook her head desperately. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. She drew a shaky breath. Nathan manipulated me. I stayed silent. He kept telling me every promotion would lock in our future. Our future. You believed him. I did. You chose him. I thought I was helping us. I couldn't stop the laugh that escaped me. Not a happy one. It wasn't like that, she said. It sure felt like it. I know. You left me sitting outside a government office. I know. You celebrated another man's promotion. I know. You ignored my calls. I know. Each answer came softer than the one before. Then she whispered, I hate myself for it. I folded my arms. What is it you want from me? I want another chance. I studied her. You disappeared on me first. I searched everywhere. I know. I found a ring. I left it for you. She cried harder. I didn't understand it back then. You do now. She nodded. Ido. And then she said the words that cut deeper than anything else. I always planned to marry you eventually. Something splintered inside me all over again. Eventually, she reached out toward me. I didn't mean it that way. But you said it. I just wanted to build my career first. And I was supposed to wait around. I thought you would. I gave a sad smile. That's exactly the problem. She looked confused. You never saw me as your first choice. I did. No. I shook my head. You saw me as the safe one. Her lips quivered. I loved you. I don't doubt that. I really did. But not enough. She tried to speak again, and I cut her off. You always expected me to understand. I know. To wait. I know. To forgive you. Silence. And I always did. She buried her face in her hands. I'm sorry. Before I could respond, another voice broke in. Is everything all right over here? A composed woman crossed the lobby, a folder tucked under one arm. She glanced at me first, then at Emily. I am Victoria Fies. She offered a hand toward Emily. I'm this company's legal advisor. Emily didn't move. Victoria turned back to me. Do you know her? Ido. Is she welcome here? I hesitated. Emily caught it, and pain flickered across her face. I'll go if that's what you want. Victoria crossed her arms. He doesn't have to deal with this on his own. Emily whispered. I only wanted to talk. Victoria replied evenly. You've talked. Emily looked at me one last time. Please. I said nothing. Slowly, she turned and walked toward the doors. Just before she stepped out, she murmured, I still love you. The doors swung shut behind her. Victoria waited a moment before speaking. You handled that well. I'm not so sure. You kept your composure. I almost lost myself in there. She nodded. Sometimes that's the harder fight. That evening my phone rang. Logan, I heard Emily tracked you down. News travels fast. It does. There's something else. What? You deserve to know the whole truth. I leaned back in my chair. Go ahead. Nathan never loved Emily. I frowned. What do you mean? He dated her for her family's business connections. My stomach turned. You're sure? Absolutely. How do you know? One of his old co-workers laid it all out for me. I stayed quiet. Logan continued. When Nathan lost his position, he vanished. He left her instantly. And all those promises? Gone with him. I rubbed my forehead. So she lost everything. Almost. What do you mean? She's still holding on to the hope that you'll take her back. After the call ended, I sat alone in my apartment. Hours later, a knock came at my door. Somehow I already knew who it was. When I opened it, Emily stood there again. I know I shouldn't be here. You're right. I just need 1 minute. I didn't answer. She looked straight into my eyes. Please, give me one final chance. I remembered our first date. Her laughter. Our dreams. The ring I'd once carried with so much pride. And then I remembered waiting alone. The empty office. The restaurant window. The parade of excuses. Two versions of me wrestled inside my chest. One still loved the memories. The other had finally learned to love himself. Emily waited in silence. I closed my eyes. The hardest battle wasn't against the woman in my doorway anymore. It was against the part of me that still wanted to believe love alone could undo years of being someone's second best. I agreed to meet Emily one last time. Not because I wanted her back. Not because I thought our story could be rewritten. I agreed because I didn't want unanswered questions trailing me for the rest of my life. She suggested a quiet cafe by the river. When I got there, she was already waiting, and she rose the instant she saw me. Thank you for coming. I nodded. This is the last time. I understand. We sat facing each other. For a while, neither of us said a word. Strangely, the silence felt peaceful. Months ago, I would have scrambled to comfort her. Now I simply waited. Emily finally spoke. I've replayed everything 1,000 times. I believe you. I wish I could take it back. So do I. She looked startled. You do? I wish none of it had ever happened. A tear traced down her cheek. I destroyed us. I laced my fingers together. You did. She drew a trembling breath. I need to tell you the truth. I am listening. When I missed our first registration, she said, staring at the table, I honestly thought we'd just book another one. I know. And when I missed the second one, she couldn't finish the sentence. I waited. She pushed herself to go on. I thought you'd forgive me all over again. Because you always had. That's why I wasn't afraid. Her words didn't make me angry anymore. They only made me sad. I believed, she whispered, that you loved me too much to ever leave. I nodded slowly. You were right. She looked confused. I did love you that much. Then why? Because loving you is destroying me. She pressed a hand to her mouth. I never wanted that. But that's what happened. I know. For the first time in years, I felt no need to defend myself. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't demand answers. I already had them. I spent years trying to be enough for you. You were enough. No, I shook my head gently. If I'd been enough, I wouldn't have been your lowest priority. She wept quietly. I was selfish. You were. I kept thinking you'd understand. I always did. And that became the problem. She nodded. I see that now. I leaned back in my chair. Emily, yes. I want to thank you. She stared at me in disbelief. Thank me? For what? You taught me something I should have learned years ago. What was it? Love without respect eventually turns into self-destruction. She shut her eyes. I never respected your time. No, I never respected your feelings. No, I thought an apology fixed everything. It only pushed off the consequences. She cried harder. I hate the person I used to be. I don't. She looked up. You don't. I've stopped hating anyone. What do you feel then? I thought carefully before I answered. Gratitude. She looked lost again. If none of this had happened, I'd still be standing outside that government office, waiting. She smiled sadly. You've changed. I had to. She reached in her bag and pulled out a small envelope. I brought something. What is it? The note you left with the ring. She set it on the table. I've carried it every single day. I looked down at the familiar handwriting. I finally chose myself. Emily traced the edge of the paper. I didn't understand those words back then. And now I do. She lifted her eyes to mine. I lost you for good. I said nothing. She went on. Wasn't Nathan. No, it wasn't another woman. No, it was me. Yes. She nodded slowly. My own choices drove you away. Neither of us spoke for a long stretch. Finally, she stood. I won't bother you anymore. Thank you. She smiled through her tears. I hope you're happy. I am. I really mean that. I know. She hesitated. I'll regret what I did for the rest of my life. I believe you. She took one last look at me. Goodbye. Goodbye, Emily. She walked away without glancing back. I watched until she vanished into the crowd. Then I quietly paid for my coffee and left in the opposite direction. A few weeks later, someone surprised me in my apartment. The doorbell rang, and when I opened it, Mia flung her arms around me. I missed you. I laughed. Missed you too. She stepped inside and glanced around. This place feels like you. I'll take that as a compliment. It is. We spent the whole afternoon talking. She asked about work. She asked about Daniel. She burst out laughing when I told her how Sophia once buried the entire conference room under design sketches. You light up every time you mention your coworkers, Mia teased. They're good people. I can tell. She went quiet for a moment, then smiled warmly. You know what makes me happiest? What? I finally get to see my big brother smiling again. I looked away, a little embarrassed. Do I really smile that much? You didn't before. Her words stayed with me. The following Monday, Sophia found me standing on the office balcony after work. Beautiful sunset. It is. She came to stand beside me. You seem lighter. I finally closed an old chapter. I'm glad. She didn't ask for the details. She never pushed. She just respected my quiet. After a while, she smiled. Want to grab dinner? Sure. As we headed toward the elevator, something clicked into place for me. This story had never been about replacing Emily. It wasn't about finding another relationship. It wasn't about proving my worth to a single soul. It was about becoming a man I could respect. Everything else came afterward. That night, I walked home beneath a sky crowded with stars. The city lights shimmered across the river beside me. I thought about the man who'd once stood there with flowers, documents, and a ring in his pocket. If I could tell him just one thing, it would be this. Asterisk, you'll survive. Asterisk, maybe he wouldn't have believed me. Maybe he would have kept waiting anyway. Some lessons can only be carved into us through pain. I smiled and kept walking. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Because I finally understood that the sweetest revenge isn't making someone regret losing you. It's quietly refusing to return to the person who is certain you'd never find the courage to leave. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt truly free.